There's a practice in the church after celebrating great feasts to kind of dip back into them and see better now the meaning of the mystery. So yesterday we celebrated in a big way Pentecost. Mary, the disciples, Jesus' family, everybody together. And the Holy Spirit comes, shakes the house, sends them out. That was one version of it. And then the gospel yesterday had Jesus back in the upper room, doors locked, the community staying inside out of fear, unable to move forward. And even though the doors are locked and even though they're afraid, Jesus is present to them, comes and says, "Peace be with you." And then he breathes on them, it says, and gives them the Holy Spirit, which gives them the power to heal as they are being healed. Whose sins you forgive, they are forgiven. The things that have been holding you back. And you remember too, he showed them his wounds. You know, the crucifixion didn't just happen to Jesus. It happened to the disciples. It happened to Mary. It happened to everybody who loved him. When a great tragedy happens in a family, it doesn't happen to one person. It happens to everybody. And Jesus comes back with that healing breath, heals them, brings them into joy, and gives them, right from that same place of their woundedness, gives them their mission. And that's still ours today. So you could say, you know, what we saw yesterday were two versions of Pentecost. We had the huffing and puffing version where, you know, the Spirit makes such a big noise that it brings everybody together. And another version of it was a little more gentle, right where the wounds were, where people are being healed. Guess both of them are versions of the church. Great big joyful noise unto the Lord, in the gentle, healing way. And I tend to be toward the joyful noise side. I like that big, powerful, shake the house kind of thing. Let's get things moving. But you don't live in this world too long without realizing that the wounds that all of us suffer in some way are not healed by great big noises, but are healed by a gentleness, a tenderness, a compassion. Jesus breathes on them. You know, the scholars tell us that that's the same as God breathing on the waters in the beginning of the book of Genesis to get the whole world started. Well, Jesus breathing on that little community right on their wounds, it's like to get them started, a new creation. And we say it's the birthday of the church. And I guess if we're going to just touch that gentle side of the Spirit, kind of that soft refreshment, healing, you can think of a couple of images, you know, how we've always said that the Holy Spirit comes down like a dove. It's really like a beautiful, gentle bird coming down. You know, they land so softly. And then, you know, as we got this new translation of the missal, there's like another image for the Spirit there. It says, "Let your Spirit come down like the dewfall." And when we first got that translation, I was dewfall. Why are we saying dewfall? And I realized that, you know, that the dewfall is very gentle and almost imperceptible. Like it's not there, and then it is there. And when you think about, like, you know, how in the morning if you go out into a garden or just around the lawn, when the dew comes down, everything's like wet and soft and fresh. And that there's something about our recreation and the work that has to happen through us that reconciling ministry that Jesus gives us as our commission. This work of forgiveness that's ours requires a great gentleness. I love that big push, that big force that gets everybody outside and that gets things going. That's a really good thing. But a lot of people just need the gentleness, need the softness, need the refreshment to find their own healing. When you give a little thought to it, all the healing's already in our bodies. All that, medicine does is it tries to support the healing process that's in us. We heal from the inside out. And I think that's true of our church, that's true of our families, that there's support that's needed, there's understanding that's needed, there's knowledge and insight. But the healing comes from within the human. And there's a tenderness that supports that. Certainly Mary was a person who knew of the incredible gentleness of the Holy Spirit. To think that it was by the Holy Spirit that she bore her child. Jesus came to be in a very gentle way in his mother's womb through the power of the Holy Spirit. That Spirit's alive in the church. That's why we come together. That's what brings us together. That's what brings the Eucharist and the presence of Jesus to life in us. And it's the same Spirit that invites us, coaxes us, sometimes pushes us out into mission.